Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's really great to have you join us today. Um, this is a brilliant topic and something we've probably not covered as much as we should have done. We're going to talk today about preparing for the PKI ecosystem changes that are coming up in 2026, and certainly. It's in my career working in security. It's the most changes that have probably come up to a particular ecosystem in one period of time. So there's loads and loads to cover within this. I really hope you do take some interesting insights away from you. But as we go through this topic today, everyone who's joined, do ask questions in the chat. I'll be keeping an eye on things, and Marissa from our team will be keeping an eye on things as well. We'll do our best to answer and keep up. But we've got a really good mix of briefings on the various changes, plus some live demos, which, as always, I hope they go very, very smoothly, but they are live demos. So let's see what happens. My name is Billy McDermott. I'm the VP of Customer Engineering here at Red Sift, but more importantly today, I'm really pleased to be joined for the first time on a webinar. We've done we've done one together, Bashan, actually. I'm joined by Bashan Lakandi, who's our product manager for the certificates products. Bashan, great to see you. Thank you for joining us today. Would you like to tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your role here at Red Sift?
Yes, yeah, thanks, Billy. So I'm product manager for the certificates product. And yeah, I have worked in this space for almost a decade. I'm also coming from the development background. So yeah, I have the insights on those things as well. And looking forward to, yeah, great success together.
And then you've got a long history of working with not hardened eyes, not that part, but you did work on SSL labs. Is that right?
Yeah, so my entry into the PKI space was with SSL Labs. So with Ivan Ristic, yeah, I was for quite some time a primary developer for SSL Labs, pushing out all the latest developments in the PKI space. And yeah, that's how I entered into this space. And since then, I'm yeah mostly working on the trust aspects around the internet, as well as I worked on the embedded semiconductor level as well, providing the trust ecosystem for the certificates used on semiconductors and everywhere. So yeah, that has been exciting changes in the career.
Well, I was delighted that you came to work with us. I know you've been with us for some time now, but being able to work with someone who's got such a background in the industry, but also who did work on SSL labs as well, it was great, and we were really delighted that you were able to come and join us. So let's dive in and let's look at what we're going to talk about. The most important thing is the road ahead here, everyone. We're going to talk about the key milestones, what is changing in 2026 and why it's important. We're going to talk about private PKI, the blind spot in many of our customers' estates. So we're going to talk about what we're seeing there and why it's something, particularly this year, that you should probably pay attention to. PQC, we're maybe already fatigued from hearing about PQC. I don't know. You tell me. Is it clear for you what you need to do? Do you think it's taking too long, or are you just kicking the can down the road? We're going to tell you our view. If you've got any thoughts on it, let us know. We'll be happy to talk about it. We're going to do a demonstration of our private PKI and PQC capabilities, where they stand, before we move on to certificate life cycles, before we move on to a full demo of our Red Sift certificates products, and before I give you a sneak preview of our MCP. You guys know I love a live demo. I'm not promising it's going to go all correctly with the MCP, but I want to give you a sneak peek of the work that we're doing in the AI world. So, key milestones. Let me begin before I hand over to Bashan to talk about some of the more technical elements of it. Like I said, this is probably the busiest year that we've actually had when it comes to the PKI ecosystem and what's going to be changing. There's so much coming up that we need to be aware of and be conscious of very, very soon. And in fact, actually, now we're starting to see 200-day certificates come out. Apple is going to enforce that from the end of March. But actually, Amazon have started to issue 198-day certs as well already. So the changes are actually coming in. So immediately this year, depending on what you have set up in your estate, you are going to see the number of certificates certainly double this year already. And that's before we move into the 100-day lifetime, which is kicking in 2027. We're then seeing a real focus, everyone, on private PKI, TLS certificates that are within your network. They're behind your firewall and they're not on the public internet. We are talking to organizations every day who have got hundreds of thousands of private certificates within their estate. So it's becoming more important that organizations that rely on that within their infrastructure think about how to standardize that. And we're going to talk about that approach during this session. In 2029, finally, the lifetime drops to 47 days. Okay, we're moving quickly, everyone, towards a world where manual renewal of certificates is just frankly impossible and will become completely redundant. Then PQC. Now, we're saying 2030 plus in terms of when the PQC standards are actually coming in, but now you should be starting to plan for this and you should be starting to adopt the standards within your estate. You should be starting to look at what changes need to happen, and we will talk about what that looks like as well before in 2033 onwards full PQC kicks in, where organizations need to have a full PQC cryptography estate. Okay, this is all about crypto agility. This is all cryptography agility. This is about how can you maintain your encryption across your private and your public estate, whilst also making sure that the estate adapts to all the different changes that are taking place within the ecosystem. There is a lot going on, but with the right planning and with the right tooling in place, you can absolutely keep up with it and make sure that not only are you doing what these changes determine you're supposed to do, but that you do keep up with the different policies, the different frameworks, the different parts of regulation that are applicable to you and are applicable to your organization. Let's focus for a couple of minutes on lifetime. Big change. We're starting to see the lifetime drop from the end of March before it drops to 47 days in 2029. Okay, so we are talking about up to 8 times as many renewals, okay, annually compared to today. Okay, that's the volume that we're talking about. There are 8 times more certificates going to exist in a customer's estate in 2029 than actually exist right now. So think about it. If you're a customer that has 1,000 certificates within your public estate right now, you are going to have 8,000 certificates within your estate. And even if all of that issuance, all of that replacement activity, even if it is automated, you are still increasing your attack surface. Okay, you are still increasing the amount of activity that's actually required. You are still increasing the amount of risk that does exist within your estate. You are, even with automation in place, we talk to customers about this every single day. We talk to prospects about this every single day. They come to us and say, yeah, we thought we had everything automated, but then the automation failed in one part of their estate. Okay, or a third-party certificate tripped them up, a certificate that was issued by a social media provider, issued by a third-party organization that one of their services actually depended on. Okay, automation that you have under your control won't always take care of these edge cases. Okay, so you have to be mindful here that although we're moving towards a world where manual certificate issuance and manual certificate rotation is no longer going to be an option, okay, you shouldn't 100% rely on automation, and you should be starting to think about what your insurance policy actually looks like. How are you going to be absolutely sure that every certificate within your estate, okay, that your services, that your web services and your email services actually depend on, how are you going to be certain that they have successfully been replaced at their expiry date? Okay, and that's particularly important because of that multiplication, is particularly important because the amount of time that you have available to replace a certificate is shrinking as the lifetime actually shrinks. It used to be the standard, the replacement policy recommended would be you should be looking to rotate your certificate 30 days out. Okay, so that short life cycle means that just simply isn't the case anymore. You might want to look at replacing the certificate 7 days out. So that cuts the opportunity you have to actually make a change and make a manual rotation. If automation does fail, it cuts the window right down. And remember, 81% of outages are still caused by expired or misconfigured certificates in the estate. It's still a significant cause of downtime within the estate. So that's the first big topic. Lifetimes dropping, something to be aware of. Bishan, the next topic. Let's talk about private PKI and why that's now becoming more and more important.
Yes, thanks, Billy. Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about private PKI. It tends to be the area where organizations have least visibility and most overlook risk. Public PKI, on the other hand, certificates securing your website, public APIs, your external domains are relatively well understood. There is a well established ecosystem of certifying authorities, browser enforcement, certificate transparency logs, and compliance requirements that keep the public PKI ecosystem honest. But private PKI is a different story. On private PKI, internal certificates, securing your internal servers, VPNs, DevOps pipelines, IoT devices, and internal APIs are often issued by internal private CAs like Active Directory Certificate Service or other private CAs with little central oversight of the things. And lifetimes are frequently set to years for those certificates, sometimes even decades. There is no external monitoring, and when something goes wrong, an unexpected expiry or a compromised route or a misconfigured intermediate, the impact can be severe and hard to diagnose. From recent study, 60% of enterprises run their own internal certifying authorities. A big enterprise organization on average has more than 140,000 internal certificates in use, and 57% are now incorporating zero trust into their encryption strategy, which means private PKI is becoming even more central to how they operate. Let's take a look further in next slide, why private PKI estates are growing.
Well, one thing just before we move on to the next slide as well, I was talking to a prospect last week, Bishan, and I shared some of the insight with you. And what we have to remember at this stage is we're not just talking, when it comes to private PKI, we're not just talking about web services and email services that will go down like public certificates. When private PKI has got a failure, it can impact manufacturing, it can impact operational activity. We're starting to move into the world of OT here. So we're no longer just going, oh, your website was down or your API wasn't responding, or your email service wasn't available. We're talking about manufacturing of products no longer taking place, which is a significant impact on cost, and that's the type of risk here that that customers need to be very aware of.
Definitely, yes. And the primary driver why the private PKI, the growth for private PKI is also adoption of zero trust model. So the core principle of zero trust is simple: never trust, always verify. That means the network is no longer the perimeter, identity is. Basically, every service gets a unique certificate, every connection uses mutual TLS, meaning both sides must present a valid certificate signed by a trusted CA. Access is policy driven, not a location or the network driven. Private PKI is what makes all of this possible at scale. It's what gives every service, every device, every user a strong cryptographic identity. And because zero trust favors short-lived and auto-rotated certificates, the volume and the velocity of certificate issuance is only going to go up. More zero trust adoption means more private certificates, more complexity, and more need for proper visibility and lifecycle management. That's the visibility gap we need to address. We take a look at it in the demo, how Red Sift certificates help bridge this gap later. Now, switching to the next big topic, so building a foundation for post-quantum readiness. So quantum computing is advancing rapidly, and while that brings real benefits across industries, it also introduces an urgent threat to the cryptographic algorithms securing our digital world today. When cryptographically relevant quantum computer, often called CRQC, is built, it will be capable of breaking today's widely deployed public key cryptography, including RSA, electric cryptography, essentially overnight. Most regulatory and compliance frameworks, including national cybersecurity agencies, mandate that organizations do this migration to quantum safe cryptography by 2030, as we earlier saw on the timeline. That sounds like a comfortable runway, but scale of what needs to migrate is enormous. Everything on public internet, private PKI, internal networks, IoT devices, everything needs to be migrated to the PQ safe cryptographic algorithms. And there is even more immediate threat we can't ignore. So that's called harvest now, decrypt later. Adversaries can already harvest encrypted data today, like your TLS traffic, your VPN tunnels, and basically decrypt them once this CRQC quantum computer is available. And yeah, this needs an immediate action to protect against this threat. So where do we start? Focusing on PKI, which is like a ground zero for this migration, we think about PQC readiness in three foundational steps. Step one is know your posture. You can't protect what you can't see. Organizations need a comprehensive, always up-to-date inventory of their cryptographic assets. So like every domain, subdomain, certificate, network endpoints across both public facing as well as the internal private PKI infrastructure. This sounds straightforward, but in practice, most organizations are genuinely surprised by the sprawl they uncover. The good news is that with the right tooling, this inventory can be built with minimal ongoing effort after initial configuration. Step two is about identify your weak links. Once you have your visibility, you need to understand your exposure, which systems are running algorithms that quantum computers will break. That means identifying all RSA, Diffie-Hellman, ECDH, ECC deployments. These are quantum vulnerable and will need a transition. Symmetric cryptography is inherently more quantum resistant, but anything below 256-bit strength is recommended to be upgraded. Hash functions should similarly be upgraded to higher bit strengths. Critically, you are also looking at the systems that lack crypto agility, meaning they cannot be updated to support new algorithms without significant re-engineering. And yeah, that then we have the third final step, planning the migration. With your inventory and risk profile in hand, you can plan a structured phased migration. Not everything needs to be moved at once or migrated at once. Prioritize long lived data and high risk PKI assets first, as they carry the greatest harvest now risk. The migration has two distinct parts. So one is about key exchange and the other is digital signatures. On the key exchange side, the most urgent action you need to take right now is deploying hybrid TLS, combining classical ECDHE with MLKM. This directly addresses harvest now decryptolator threat with backward compatibility. This migration is well underway across the internet with the likes of Cloudflare, Google, and major browser vendors have been deploying hybrid key exchange in TLS at scale. On the digital signature side, as the ecosystem matures, you phase in the niche standardized post-quantum algorithms like MLDSA, SLHDSA, and others. The key message is that PQC readiness isn't a single event, it's a migration process, and you should start immediately to address the harvest now risk. Now let's see this briefly in action, how Red Sift certificates can enable you to achieve that. So let me share a screen.
Just while Bishan is sharing his screen, I've posted a link to our guide to post-quantum cryptography. That's in the chat, everyone. Bishan's really highlighted there that even though the milestones that I mentioned at the beginning are a little bit away, the preparation that's involved is substantial, it is significant. And if you're not considering this as part of your strategy for 2026 and 2027, then you should be reviewing that. And a good place to start is not just this webinar, but that blog that I have shared as well.
Yes. Yeah, and now it's time to see that in action, how certificates can help you with this migration. So, yeah, you see this certificates dashboard, and we have a dedicated section along with other graphs, a dedicated section for post-quantum readiness. This basically gives an overview of organizations' post-quantum migration status. So you see how much is already done and what needs to be addressed. On the left hand, we have this TLS endpoints focusing on that key exchange aspect. So all your TLS endpoints, like your HTTP as well as SMTP endpoints, whether they support the PQ safe key exchange, the recommended one X25519 MLKM, and which ones don't support it. As earlier mentioned, the industry adoption is well underway, and you should also get going with this migration immediately.
And you'll probably see within your estate anyway, everyone, without you even realizing that you'll be starting to make progress anyway on the endpoint side of readiness, because the providers are starting to push out the extension that Bishan mentioned. So.
Exactly. Yes. And yeah, and for the rest of them, you need to address them. Some of them would be in your private PKI, for instance. Those you can configure with all the servers supporting this key exchange, like Apache and others. On the right side, we have the certificate PQ readiness. So focusing on this algorithm and digital signatures aspect. So the certificates which are using the post-quantum safe cryptographic algorithms like MLDSA or SLSDSA. This adoption is emerging on public PKI, but there is strong early momentum in private PKIs with the likes of private PKI CAs like EJB CA, AWS private CA supporting issuance of PQ certificates already, or certificates with these PQ safe algorithms already. Now, digging a bit deep into the TLS endpoint part. So yeah, you can drill down into one of these and see which of your endpoints already support PQ safe key exchange on TLS 1.3. And here, this is our endpoints table or endpoints overview, where you see all your endpoints with various details. You can filter by and configure as per your needs. And then you can go into details of any specific endpoint. There we show like this details of that endpoint, what IP address and port it is running on, what certificate it is configured with. You can see the details of that certificate. And then an in-depth TLS and MTLS configurations. So you see all the TLS versions it support and Cyper suites configured for those TLS versions. So here, this one does support PQ safe TLS 1.3, and you can also see the details of each of the Cyper suite. So yeah, that's the hybrid TLS key exchange that is being used on this endpoint. Similarly, you can go on to endpoints that don't support and needs to be addressed. So depending on the context where they are deployed, you can take the actions to upgrade them. So let's take a look at one of them. So this one seems to be supporting also the older TLS versions. We mark here the weak Cyper suites orange and the insecure ones red. So yeah, you need to disable the insecure ones and the weak ones based on the backward compatibility requirements. So now this endpoint doesn't support PQ safe key exchange. And yeah, that needs to be addressed. You can also go to the details of this host or domain. And then here we have a screenshot of the index page for that domain. And yeah, that's based on your risk profile, you need to prioritize which ones to be addressed first. On the certificates side, similarly, you can see which of your certificates are using the PQ safe key algorithms, and also then the details of each certificate. We mark it PQ safe. We have all the technical details as well as the trust details and where that certificate is deployed. All these things in certificate details can be viewed. Now, that's about the PQC. Now, briefly mentioning about private PKI. So we support various integrations like various cloud providers to ingest certificates you use there, as well as some CAs. And we have this agent for private PKI monitoring. So organization can install an agent in their private infrastructure. You can also have more than one agent per region, for instance. And once you have an agent deployed or installed in your private network, like the example I have here, it starts to discover the assets in your private infrastructure. So all the certificates and endpoints, and they get ingested into your central repository. So in all certificates, you then see all your public as well as the private certificates. And then we have all these filters. You can use the groups to group them into separate groups, as well as you can find based on origins which ones were found by the agent. So this one, staging instance certificate, agent did find on the internal network. It was also there on certificate transparency log. So this is a public certificate used internally, but you can, on this other account, I, for example, have a certificate that's only seen by agent, and it's not a, yeah, so this is like a example privately issued certificate or your self-signed certificates. Similarly, for endpoints, you can use the similar filtering. So you can create the groups like your public PKI endpoints versus private PKI endpoints. And you can also use the existing filters like this to see which of your endpoints are running on or were seen on a private IP. And yeah, you can create a view for that and use all sorts of filtering and visualization. So with that, yeah, that gives a short brief about private PKI and PQC. And you see further in the next slides and the demo. So handing over back to you, Billy.
Thank you very much, Prashant. Absolutely incredible to see how we're actually adapting to the changes. But one thing is really clear: in order to get these insights, so whether it's relating to your private certificates, whether it's relating to your PQC state, whether it's relating to your timelines, which I'll come on to in a moment, in order to do that, you must have, in order to mitigate the risks, you must have an up-to-date inventory, everyone, of every single certificate. Okay, you must see every single certificate on your public network or on your private network as soon as it is issued. Okay, that has to be kept up to date automatically. We've been saying since Hardenized was founded back in the day, it's no longer an option to do this using spreadsheets. Now the change is it's no longer an option to not see every single certificate as soon as it's issued. Okay, you will not, even in a mid-sized business, be able to keep up with the volume of certificates, the volume of risk that's going to exist because of these ecosystem changes, without having a more modern approach to certificate management and to certificate monitoring. You need continuous discovery. You need to know where a certificate can exist in your estate. Okay, subdomains, domain discovery, IP discovery, and private infrastructure. Not daily scans. You need real-time ingestion of certificates from those environments when the certificates actually exist. Public certificate issuance monitoring is no longer acceptable on its own either. You have to combine that with what Bishan has just demonstrated. That's private PKI monitoring. And this is one big thing as well that I always talk to our prospects about when they come and speak to us, is that people think that they only have certificates coming from one certificate authority very often. The reality is most of the prospects that we talk to and then onboard to certificates have certificates from 10 or 11 different certificate authorities. They have got self-signed certificates. And this is before we even look inside the network. That's the public footprint. So every single time, if I had a dollar for every time I spoke to a prospect and made them guess how many certificate authorities they had and they were wrong, I wouldn't be working for Red Sift today. Okay, that's the reality here, is that you need to have multiple certificate authority visibility, and you need to have visibility of those signals that Bishan has just spoken about with regards to your cryptographic posture. You need to see what the indicators are. You're starting to move now beyond the legacy CLMs. The reality is that you need your CLM. You always will, no matter what path you go down. But you must have an insurance policy. You must have a solution that sits alongside your CLM, okay, that actually demands, that delivers what 2026 is demanding, okay. You need that consolidated view. You need something that deploys in minutes, with nothing to actually install, not something that takes weeks or months to give you the visibility that Bishan has been talking about, okay? You need it to provide you with continuous real-time detection of new certificates. Remember, public certificate issuance as well. If you see a certificate that you don't recognize, that can be an indicator of compromise, okay? That can be something that's telling you something is not right in your estate. Surely you would want to know as soon as that certificate is issued. You need to be able to correlate all the certificate data with certificate transparency, with DNS, okay, as well, to understand ownership, to understand what services are actually on the estate. And you need multiple ways of actually discovering those certificates. You can't rely on what a lot of the CLMs provide, which is just one type of discovery. They just do one scan on your TLS port. That's it. Okay. You need hostname based discovery for certificates. You need network scanning discovery, okay, for certificates. You need certificate transparency discovery for certificates. And this is where Red Sift Certificates comes in. And I like this slide, because it was created by our founder, Raoul. So, I've got to say that I like it. But it genuinely illustrates how far that we've came since the Hardenized days, since I even started the business, and when Mike and I joined the team. We built the combined hardenized solution to deliver a comprehensive inventory of domains, subdomains, and certificates, as well as a number of other standards, headers, and cookies, and a number of other things we know you actually care about. But the forward-thinking organizations that we've been working with, when we were acquired by Red Sift in 2022, they came to us and said, actually, that the ecosystem changes, these are coming. We care about certificates right now more than we actually care about anything else. And that's why we made a decision to create the separate Red Sift Certificates product. Okay, it's still built on those incredible foundations of discovery that Hardenized had. That's what powers it. That's what begins it. But it's given us the ability, the combination of working with Red Sift plus the feedback that we've had from some of these amazing customers that we've been really fortunate to work with, means that we're able to deliver a dedicated certificate solution that will help you deal with all these ecosystem changes. And that, combined with the partnerships that we work in, like what we've been doing with our friends at Let's Encrypt to deliver Red Sift Lite, Red Sift Certificates Lite, that's the free version of certificates, means that we can continue to work towards Red Sift's mission of delivering a safer internet as well. This is what Red Sift Certificates actually provides. Okay, we have got our public infrastructure monitoring and our private infrastructure monitoring. This is global infrastructure monitoring, but also inside your network, okay, inside your cloud providers, okay. It means that in one single place, you've got visibility of everywhere that a certificate could exist in both sides of that network, okay. You've got it in all one place, and it continuously updates to help you with these problems that you are actually having. We've just launched the private appliance over the past couple of months. It's proving very, very popular. We're onboarding customers every week to this new solution. And we're actually just about to put no pressure on Bishan here, probably at the beginning of Q2, we're just about to release our Active Directory certificate service integration as well. So this has came a long way. We're adapting towards to the ecosystem changes and ensuring that customers that have got a CLM understand that actually they need that insurance policy that I said to give them complete coverage so that they can truly mitigate the risks in the way that our friends at William Fry do. There's a great case study on the website that goes into more detail here. But at William Fry, they're able to use Red Sift certificates. Martin was able to discover certs that he believed had been decommissioned, including expired ones. Okay, this level of visibility is absolutely key, is absolutely essential. And we're a little bit short on time just now, but Bishan did a great job at doing a full demonstration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a demonstration of one little part, just something that's a little bit more perhaps forward thinking. If give me 1 second, because my screen share is now no longer doing what I was hoping it was going to do and what I prepped to do. So let me just change what I was going to do. And yeah, this is a sneak preview of the Red Sift MCP and how the Red Sift MCP, once it's available to customers, is going to help with some of these problems as well. And I'm going to focus particularly on the lifetime element of it. So I'm connected to our demonstration account from Claude using the Red Sift MCP. I've asked it to look at the account and to say, look, if the lifetime changes were going to impact tomorrow, what would the compliance in my estate actually look like? So it's went through the inventory of certificates. It's actually carried out an analysis for me, and I can build my dashboard. I don't need to rely on even the Red Sift Certificates dashboard for this, although rest assured we will be adding lifecycle visibility to the dashboard and improving that as we go through all these changes. But I now can go into any certificate account and carry out this level of analysis. And this is what Red Sift is committed to doing. We are working to ensure that all of our customers will be able to access their accounts over our MCP using a model of their choice, so that they can also carry out this level of analysis. I just did that this morning. It's all up and running, and I am using it and testing it with our product team every single day. So can't give any timelines on it yet, but it shouldn't be too far away. But if you do have any questions or about our MCP, or if you want to ask anything more about it, then yeah, absolutely get in touch. We'll be more than happy to help. So that's been a really busy session. We're just about on time. I'm just going to pick up some questions just to wrap us up here, Bishan. So we have got a question. Oh, great question. Thank you for this. We've been asked, like, private PKI, how do we start? How do we actually get visibility into that? How would we get started to get a grip of that, because it's completely unmanaged right now? Bishan did a great demonstration and actually showed how easy it is to get up and running. It involves installing that agent from your Red Sift Certificates account, getting it up and running, seeding that agent with your IP addresses, with your host names, and then the agent will actually go and find all the certificates that are actually required, actually visible within your estate. It's really simple, and as Bishan demonstrated, it's in the same single pane of glass, but we make it really easy for you to identify those certificates that have came from the agent versus any other source as well. So if you're an existing customer who wants to get that up and running, please get in touch with your customer success engineer, and they'll be happy to do that for you. But if you're not a customer and you'd like a preview, then you can get in touch through the website, and we'll be happy to get you a demonstration of that as well. Wojciech, good to see you. Thank you for the question. This is probably one for you, Bishan. Do you plan an integration of private PKI to HashiCorp vaults?
Yeah, I mean, the priority right now is getting the Microsoft Active Directory certificate services integration out first, and then later this year we would be targeting more integration, and probably HashiCorp Vault would be like the big player in the space. So yeah, that would be the plan.
There we go. Breaking news. No pressure there, but Bishan, we'll be putting pressure on you now that you've committed to that. Wonderful. Fantastic, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. I really enjoyed that. Bishan, what a delight to do my first webinar for you. Thank you so much for being able to join. The recording will come out to everyone on demand once it's went through its processing. You'll get an email to tell you. Get in touch with us if you've got any questions. And wherever you are, I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.